Okay, hey, what's going on? This is Joel Evan. I'm going to jump into it right away. I'm going to go through a case study that I did with a business owner and how I helped him actually transform his marriage in less than 90 days. And actually, his story actually magically transformed in just 30 days. But most guys, it takes about 3 months typically. And my own story, if you know my pain to purpose story, I was a go-getter, entrepreneur, best-selling author, former first responder for 15 years. So I understand shift work. I understand not being there for the kids and not being there on the holidays and doing all these things. And then transitioning to an entrepreneur and, thinking I would have more time. I actually didn't have more time, and entrepreneurs know that. Their schedule is just chaotic. It's even more busy than the 9 to 5 typically. And so I know those struggles myself, and I'm going to walk you through my 5-step game plan and framework of how I got better myself and how I help other men do the same. I'm also going to give you a sneak peek into my program, and so you can just see how I lay things out and why it's so important to have a plan if you are going to fix anything. If you're going to fix your fitness, you should hire a trainer. You should have a certain meal plan, a certain workout plan. If you're going to, start a business, you should have a mentor. You should go get a degree or whatever it is. You need to have a plan. But when it comes to marriage, relationships, family, there's a lot of times we just wing it and we just hope for the best. And we think, man, I hope it works out. And if it doesn't, I guess I just didn't find my soulmate. That's probably the problem. And the reality is, no, it's not. There is a framework to this, and I figured it out. There is, after suffering myself for 10 years of being married and always just not knowing 1 week was good, 1 week was bad, and on the brink of divorce, like I'm sure many of you, if you're watching this video, I have been there so many times. And it wasn't until after 10 years of all this dysfunction that I finally figured it out. And I was already a life coach, and I had already done all these seminars and gone to Tony Robbins and read the books. Look at all these books behind me. I read them all, and I still was messing up. I went to therapy for 4 years, and none of this stuff worked. So I'm going to show you what does work. This is my 5-step framework. And I'm going to give you an example with one of my clients, George, and how he radically transformed his marriage in actually just 30 days. But most men, I help them build unshakable marriages and deeper connection with their kids in 90 days. And then it just gets better. Once you understand the framework, then you just keep putting things into action. Don't get it twisted. Don't think that I'm just sitting back and just magically my marriage got better in 90 days and then I just didn't do anything. The work continues and you have to stay on it. So I'm going to go over the 5-step framework so you guys can see what that's all about. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek into my program so you can see some of the big principles and the big ideas and how I outline everything to get guys better and to reach ultimate success. And then at the end, I'm also going to give you an option, no strings attached. If you're interested and you like what I'm saying, feel free to reach out to me and I will do a 15-minute free call with you, and I will point out everything that I think is probably going wrong in your marriage, and I'll give you some action items and write you your own personal priority task flow list of what you need to do. And I'll also even give you 14 days free access to my new app, Limitless Fathers, which is right here. Here's a look at it on the screen. And it's got a journal, it's got habits, it's got my entire course in there. So you guys get access to all of that, and I'll share that with you as well, and I'll also share the course. So let's get into it, man. I don't want to wait any longer. And by the way, I didn't even introduce myself. If you don't know me, my name is Joel Evan. I kind of mentioned this already. I was a former first responder for 15 years, life coach, health coach, worked with some of the best, spent over $100,000 easily in personal development in the last decade. And my marriage, like I said, was hurting. It was on the brink of divorce. And here's my book in the background called Ignite, best-selling author. All these accomplishments, all these things, I can't say accomplishments, all these things that accolades and things I've done, but I still just couldn't figure out the marriage thing. And it took my wife giving me an ultimatum to figure it out, or there's going to be problems. And I'm glad I listened one last time. And so I hope if you're watching this video, you're listening one more time, and that there's hope also, just because I see this all the time that guys will reach out to me. My wife wants a divorce or she wants to separate. Guys, don't fear. That is, I get it. It's scary, but that is the check engine light. That is her trying to make you conscious. And that's exactly where I was at. And that's your chance, your opportunity, where she's at her threshold and she's worrying this is probably not going to work out. So let's just cut ends. But it's really, there is one more chance. There is one more opportunity for you to tune things up. And actually, like I said, it's the check engine light. It's your car's not working. Let's bring it in and let's fix it. And there are ways, there's strategies, and most people don't think they are. They just think she's the way she is, I'm the way I am, and we just don't work things out. That's not true. I used to believe that, And believe me, that's after 4 years of therapy and all these things. And I was left with the same conclusion, and none of that could be more true. So let's jump into that. I'm going to talk about with you guys today my 5-step framework and why it works. And I'm going to share a little bit in my program so you can see what that looks like as well. So here is part of the framework: leadership training. Okay. What does that mean? Well, one of the first things we got to do with all guys is a lot of them I find them, they're just not leading in the family. And I was not leading. I was leading in many ways in my life. My health was in order. My business was order. When at work, I was a leader. The people I served, I was a leader. As a coach, I was leading people all the time. But when it came to my family, I was not. They were getting sloppy seconds. They were not my priority. I was not prioritizing love and connection. I was prioritizing myself. And a lot of guys I hear say this, oh yeah, I just have to work hard because, it's all for them. It's all for them. I'm telling you, I used to say that stuff all the time too. BS. Start prioritizing them. And so one of the big things is my wife was having to lead all the time in the family because I was no longer making decisions. And then we had a lot of conflict. And so I would just relieve leadership decisions to her, which she didn't want to have to deal with, but she had no choice because I wasn't making it. And then our fights led to me being apathetic and just saying, fine, do whatever you want. Well, that was super, super detrimental. And so I see a lot of guys not leading. And then another big part of the leadership aspect that I see that is happening for men is not only are they not leading, but they're not leading themselves. And what I mean is that how is your health? How is your fitness? How are your daily habits? Like, do you read? Because readers are leaders. Are you educating yourself? Are you getting better? Are you growing every day? How is your health? Are you inflamed? Are you overweight? Are you a man that deserves to be respected by your kids and your wife and someone that she's like, that is my man. Like, he is powerful. He can protect me. He is all these things. Are you... And granted, like, listen, I was doing all these things. One of my coaches was like, I'm going to need you to wake up at 4 a.m. I need you to do this. I'm like, I already do all these things. So even me being a go-getter, it didn't matter because I'm telling you, there was some missing parts into my makeup, and I'll talk about that. But a lot of guys, what I see is they don't even deserve to have people follow them. So, and who would follow them if they don't have their mindset dialed in? They don't have their finances dialed in. They don't have their fitness dialed in. Like they don't even respect themselves. So how can they expect to lead others when they can't even lead themselves? So prioritize yourself in the beginning. It's always going to be about self-care, self-mastery in the beginning. And that's part of leadership. Okay. Let's go to part 2 of the framework. Part 2 is simple, but not so simple. It's communication, right? Most of us, we don't know how to communicate to our spouses. The famous book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I actually interviewed John Gray, and he's coming on the podcast in another month or so. We're going to do a round 2. But the reality is, we don't know how to communicate. And so what ends up happening is, and I know what happened in my life, is there was a lot of bickering and fighting. And I actually learned a communication framework. It's a 4-step framework. And when I started implementing this framework into our relationship, everything changed. And fights stopped. When there were times when I didn't even want to get into conversation because I was worried about conflict erupting, I would go into it anyways because I knew how to communicate finally and effectively without pissing off my wife. Okay, so communication, you guys have to master that. And once you master it, it's like you're like operating on a different level because you enter conversations in a way that acknowledge the other person, but they can't attack you and you can't attack them. And so it works out beautifully because no one's feelings are getting hurt. And so that's open communication, open connection, open dialogue, which is what everybody wants, right? Then you start hearing things too, where my wife used to say this, she used to say, Joel, like you are so dead. And, women, they always we're hearing a lot about vulnerability and they want men to open up. Well, if you understand how to communicate correctly, you will, by as a byproduct, open up and create vulnerability without even coming off like vulnerable and mushy and good. Like she doesn't want that either. So communication is key. And I talk about this framework in my program in a lot more detail, but you got to master that, right? The next big thing we are going to talk about is emotional resilience, right? And one of the big things I think about with emotional resilience is, again, you have to have mastered yourself, but there's a lot that happens that gets us triggered on a regular basis, on a daily basis. Our kids trigger us, our wives do certain things to trigger us. And the question is, can you still detach from that and emotionally maintain calm. There's this idea called king energy, and I'll talk about it more in another video, but the idea of a king, and when we look at the archetype of a king, not only is he powerful and brave and a servant of everybody around him, but he is also compassionate and loving, and he raises people up when they're down. He's not jealous of another man because he knows in his heart who he is, and he actually just tries to raise other men up. Those are kings. And that's exactly like, can you handle your wife's mood? Are you able to withstand her moodiness, her tempers, her tantrums? And can you remain stoic almost in the sense, and Teflon and bulletproof when you're going through all this? Most men haven't developed that type of Teflon, material. They haven't hardened or calloused up enough. And so what happens is immediately something happens and their little primitive brain gets triggered and it goes right into, I hate you. And they get into their cycle, right? It's all a brain pattern. And when we understand your brain pattern, which is something that I actually analyze in my coaching program, is when we understand your brain pattern, you know exactly the systems and the steps that you're going to fall into every single time. And so now we know that. Now we just got to rewire and interrupt it so that you don't keep repeating everything that you're doing, right? And that's part of that emotional resilience training. And I don't think a lot of people are touching on that. Emotional resilience has been so watered down now. It's just ridiculous what a lot of the experts are talking about. But being resilient is like actually being able to suffer a little bit when you are taking the burden of your family. And that's ownership, guys. That's responsibility. And that is a king. Strategic family planning. Okay. A lot of this goes back to having a plan, right? Having a blueprint, which is what I'm going to help you guys do. Like I said, I'll leave the link here in the show notes. And so if you guys want to book a 15-minute call with me and learn more about how I can help you, there's no strings attached. Literally, I'm just going to spend 15 minutes with you, hear everything that you're doing. I'm going to give you your own personal blueprint to get you started. And all I would ask is that, hey, if you enjoyed and got something from the feedback, leave me a review. If you feel like it's worthy of a review. That's the only thing I would ask, is leave me a nice 5-star review. That's it. If you feel like you got your, I don't want to say money's worth, your free time worth. That's the only thing I would say. But so here it is, strategic family planning. What I'm talking about that is, what is your family's brand? Like, what do they stand for you? What are their vision? What are their values? What do you say? Your last name means a freaking lot. And what does that mean to your family? Have you guys ever thought about that? And most of us haven't, right? A lot of us have mission statements for our work, but we don't have mission statements, or we don't even know what our brand and who we stand for as a family. And if you don't know that, then how is your family going to develop a culture and act a certain way when they don't even have that? So we get into a lot of that with our family planning section in the program. And then the last big part here that I think a lot of people miss, and it was something that I missed also, is community support. And when you're going through struggle or you're going through crisis, it's typical that most people isolate themselves. They try to go away. They don't want to be around anybody. And that leads to what? Anxiety, depression, all the things that you don't want. And so actually, when you are in crisis, you want to double down on self-care. You want to be around others. You want to be people that can support you, challenge you, help you grow. And that happens in a tribe or a group of men. And I found that men need other men. A lot of times what we end up doing is we go and see therapists, or we go and see an expert. Those really don't work. And the reason they don't work is because they work on the conscious level, not the subconscious, which is a lot of what we talk about in my program. But then not only that is having the village, if you will. Men used to sit around a bonfire at the end of the night. They used to talk about their problems. They used to share ideas and grow together. We don't do that anymore. Instead, we just bicker and talk crap about our significant others and why they're like the ball and chain. And it might be cathartic, but it doesn't nurture us. It doesn't help us grow. And so being around other strong men who are doing the same thing is extremely powerful. And I remember this, especially with one of my coaches, when I started my entrepreneurship. He even said to me, he said, Joel, do you think you should, to be an entrepreneur, do you think you would go and surround yourself with other 9-to-5ers? Because if you do, what happens? Other 9-to-5ers, you start telling them all the problems you're having as an entrepreneur. They're like, Joel, don't do that. Like, it's a waste of your time. Come back over here to the 9-to-5 job. It's so much easier. We have health benefits. You've got a 401k. You've got a pension. You got all these things. It's safe. It's secure. Like, don't waste your time with all that entrepreneur stuff. That's what a 9 to 5 person says. So it's the same thing. Most of us are hanging around who? Other bad examples. You know, other people that are divorced, other people that couldn't give us the good advice we need. So being around other strong, like-minded, purpose-driven men, really important. And if you want to level up, I think you need to be part of a community. And that's why I actually started a local men's community, because I want to give back and help them be surrounded by other strong men. And it just makes sense. It's like that famous old Jim Rohn quote, that adage that you are the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And it couldn't be truer. And it's the same thing. So I'll just blow this up really quick. Here's a testimonial from one of the guys. But this is George. And one of the big things he said here is before he left in the morning, he said that he loved her. And she said she loved me. This is the same woman a few months ago said she cared for me, but did not love me. Big win. Awesome work, George. And that was just from doing everything we just talked about, right? Here's another guy, James, same thing. Let's see, after about a month, he said, love me on Monday. First time she said that in over a month, right? He did that in just literally, guys, he did that in a month. So you're seeing when you start to do the work, anything's possible. I'm going to give you also just a really quick sneak peek of my program, so you guys can see that a little bit month. We do deep dives every month, and then here is the Limitless Fathers program that I'm a founder of and that I work through. And you can see right here, I've got a whole bunch of things, but here's some of the big ones. The foundations, I'm going to go into that. I have a lot of presence-based exercise helping you get back into presence. I hear a lot of guys, they're just not present. Their wives are complaining about that too. So I talk about several ways that you can do that. We get into self-mastery, mindset, and habits. That's the key after the foundations. Health and fitness, I talk a lot about that. One of my mentors, Stephen Cabral, in the longevity and health space, we talk about, I think with most men is they want to exercise as they get older in their 40s and 50s. They want to exercise the least amount of time, but also be in shape and not inflamed. And I talk about that and hormones in this module. There's a whole bunch of handouts here. You can see we get into the longevity diet. We get into different exercise protocols, and supplements, the top supplements that I think all men should have. We jump into the marriage. There's tons of handouts here. We talk about your marriage goals, your vision. We talk about communication, so many good things. I even talk about women and their hormones, their menstrual cycles. And when you understand that, you can actually plan for better things and also not get triggered as much when she goes through certain moods, because it's just an objective thing that's happening. She's mad or she's angry during a certain time. We talk a lot about kids. We talk about the neuroscience behind kids and discipline, anger and parenting. I see a lot of guys that have a lot of frustration with their kids, so we get into that. But again, like the beginning of it, the foundations is our habit stack, how to form habits, the 3 top human impediments that all humans face when they are in a crisis. And when you understand all 3 of them, then you know how to pivot. And we go into the levels of the mind as well. There's a lot here, guys. And then self-mastery and mindset. I go deeper into habits, deeper into goal setting, limiting beliefs, and how to shift from them, your values, your vision, your clarity, how to outsource things, time management. There's so much stuff in the course, and it follows, again, those 5 big pillars that we just talked about now. So that's how it works. Again, my call to action for you guys, if you're interested, I am happy to do an audit of your life and your fatherhood and your marriage. And I'm happy to, I'll throw the link in here. And if you want to schedule 15 minutes with me and just jump on a call and see how I can help out and give you at least a blueprint to work with, no strings attached, I'll do it completely for free. And all I ask is that if you got a lot of value out of it, leave me a nice review. And I'll also give you 14 days to my Limitless Fathers app, which has the entire course that I just went over, as well as a journal, the Elite Dad Habit Stack, and so much more. And also the access to the community. And you might even see me there doing some coaching. So hopefully this was helpful. If you're in this genre and you're facing issues, I'm here to help. I know because I've been there, and happy to help in any way I possibly can. Hope this was a lot of value to you guys. I'll see you next week.